A pedal board just for Supro amplifiers. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel and thank you for checking out this video of this custom pedal board that I have assembled specifically tailored to Supro amplifiers. For those of you that follow me, you might know that I've done this series of videos, and the way this all came about is doing gear reviews and being someone who's into buying, trading gear. I've accumulated a lot of pedals and I have quite a few amplifiers, and found that many of the pedals were sitting around collecting dust, not because I didn't like them, but because I would put together like one specific pedal board, for a gig season or whatever, and basically you pick the pedals that suit the amp and guitar rig that you're using the most. Well, that led to pedals that I absolutely love just sitting around not doing anything, and I thought, well, this pedal might be one of my favorites, but only into this amplifier. Why don't I put together a collection of pedals just for that amplifier? Now, the silly irony of these videos is the pedal boards really work for a lot of things, and in fact, I've used all of the pedal boards that I've made in these videos with a number of amplifiers, and they pretty much usually work. All the gear that I'm into tends to be kind of within a certain spectrum of sound, but the idea, again, is pick a pedal, a series of pedals that work really well with one amp, and do it. Now, the reason that this is for Supro amps is because also those of you that follow me might know I do a lot with Supro as a company. I have several Supro amplifiers and I absolutely love them. And even though they all have a unique character, they also share a sound. They share a Supro sound. And I thought about, well, gee, should I put a pedal board together just for the Royale because that's their pedal platform amplifier? Should I put one together for the Amulet 12? That's the one that I've been using quite a bit lately. Should I put a classic one together for the Black Magick? I thought there's all kinds I thought, why don't I just do one for all the Supro amps, including the Delta King 12. Now, I did do a pedal board specifically for the Delta King 12, and that one's a little bit different, but the idea of this pedal board is that it's going to work with all of them, right down to the 64 reverb, the little amplifier, or the ones that are out of production that I have, like the royal reverb. There's all kinds of amps. Again, this pedal board should work with any of them. Now, this is going in stereo, and I am using 2 of them for this, just to kind of show that off. I am using the Amulet 12 and the Black Magick together. Those 2 have probably been my favorites of all the modern ones that Supro's done. I just really love both of them. I've used both of them extensively over the past year, and so I thought those are the 2 that I'm into the most right now. Let's show off this pedal board with those. Now, there are 2 pedals on here. I also want to mention that Supro and their affiliates have shared with me, so this is a semi-sponsored board. They said, hey, why don't you try out these pedals and see if any will fit on any of your custom pedal boards, as well as having done reviews of the individual pedals. So there are 2 pedals on there that were kind of sponsored for this video, so I want to be upfront about that. And the first one being the Pigtronics Chromatic Tuner. This is one that they sent me. This is just a great tuner. It's accurate. It has a big bright display. It's very easy to use. What can you say about a tuner? It does what it needs to do. I actually like it better than the Korg Pitch Black, which is what I have been using primarily for years. Again, just big bright display, very accurate response. Really can't recommend this tuner pedal enough. And then we are going to the first pedal of the regular pedals that are on this board, and that is the Tru-Fi Pedals Sammy Fuzz. Now, this is a classic lower gain fuzz. This is based off of the old Sam Ash fuzz, which Sam Ash, of course, rest in peace, music store. That was kind of sad and shocking to see that happen. This is based on that old fuzz that they used to produce, and it's a great, again, classic fuzz, works really well with the Supro. Tru-Fi is actually local to me. I live in Southern Maine. They're a Southern Maine company, so it's kind of cool. And this one was a gift from my wife because our second little boy is named Sam. We call him Sammy. So this is the Sammy Fuzz. Alright, next up we have a classic overdrive. I've always loved Blues Breaker overdrives with Supro amps. The Blues Breaker tends to be a little clearer and have a smooth gain to it, and I've always thought that that just worked really well with the warm, fat tones of classic Supro amplifiers. This one is the Wampler Pantheon. A great, very versatile Blues Breaker style overdrive. I am using it in its basic kind of Blues Breaker vein with a little bit, it's got a bit more drive, a bit more kind of classic gain than your typical Blues Breaker pedal would, but you'll hear it just sounds really good, suits the Supros very well. Next up, we have an overdrive that specifically pairs with the Pantheon, and I want to thank the people on the Wampler Tone group on Facebook because they've always raved about this pair, and I have this pair and hadn't ever put the 2 together, but everyone always said you have to put the Pantheon and the Tumnus Deluxe together because they are the perfect overdrive pair. So next you're going to hear the Tumnus Deluxe on its own for kind of a light mid-gain overdrive, and then boost it with the Pantheon, and they do just sound great together. So check this out. Next pedal on the board, this is an always on pedal. And part of the reason for that is because it helps me brighten things up, open things up, and it's very easy to tailor, again, depending on which Supro amp I'm going into. This is the Crazy Tube Circuits Stardust, and this has 3 amp voicing switches. Now again, that will allow me to change depending on, if I'm using the 64 reverb versus the Royale. Character, yeah, they sound like Supros, but they have different responses, EQ-wise, kind of size-wise, and that helps me sort of tailor it to specific amplifiers. I might use the Bassman setting if I want to fatten up one of the smaller amps. I might use the Deluxe setting if I want to brighten up one of the warmer sounding amps. A lot of different ways you can use this. I'm not really using any of the gain from it. I'm just using it to boost and brighten the signal. So this is the Crazy Tubes Stardust. All right, now we're getting into some modulation. The next pedal is the Boss Tremolo, classic Boss Tremolo. Now you might say, well, why not use the Supro Tremolo? You said there were some sponsored pedals on here. Well, if you saw the other videos, the Supro Tremolo I used on the Delta King 12 board, and I didn't want to just kind of keep taking pedals off boards and moving them around and things. And Boss Tremolo, I mean, it's just a classic that you can't go wrong with. Now, several of the Supro amps have tremolo, including the 2 that I'm using in this video. So for some of them, it might be a moot point, but then again, for others, like the Delta King, the Royale, the Reverb, they don't have tremolo. And I do use tremolo a lot. So in the spirit of those amps that don't have it, that's why I have a classic tremolo on here. So let's have a listen. All right, now we're up to the second sponsored pedal on this board. This is the Supro Chorus. Now, I'm actually not a huge chorus person, but there's 2 reasons I love this. First of all, it's stereo, and if you're going to use chorus, from me, you got to use it in stereo. The other thing is the way that I have grown to love, there are 2 ways that I've grown to love choruses. One is a very slow, light vibrato, and really the only reason I kind of got into that is because I'm mildly obsessed with Bill Frisell. If you know, you know. But the other way that I use choruses, and this is the way that I use it more frequently, is sort of as a pseudo-Leslie sound. A lot of Leslie pedals are overpowering, even if they sound really good, and chorus pedals I find kind of get me to the same place, but allow me to dial it in a little more specifically, particularly with a wet dry knob. So this I am using it's not like, oh, it sounds like a Leslie, but it's just kind of like in that style. So check out how great this sounds, and again, notice that this is in stereo. All right, the last pedal on the board and wrapping up the stereo is the Keeley Echoes. Now this one was not sponsored. I know Keeley and Supro do have a thing together. They actually, Supro makes an amp with Keeley's name on it. They do work really well together. I needed a stereo delay to round out this board, and I love the echoes. I love the modulation effect, which is kind of like a flange, is different than you get on a lot of tape echo style delays that tend to have more like a detuned vibrato kind of thing going on. And the flange is kind of cool. It still warms up and makes the repeat sound vintage, but it does it in a way that's different than other pedals. I'll always just love this pedal. I love the way that it works in stereo. So let's have a listen to that. So that is the board. This is the small board that I've put together for use with Supro amplifiers. Now, you may notice like there's no wah on there. Wah is interesting for me because it's one where it's like, if it's on my board, I'll use it, but if it's not on the board, I don't miss it. That's kind of where I'm at with wah pedals. And I sometimes just like slightly smaller boards, you know, just got a handful of things that I need. It's just kind of punchy, right to the point, and this board works really well for me. So let us know, what do you think of these pedals? What would you put on a board specifically tailored to Supro amplifiers if you're a Supro player like I am? What I'm going to do to close out here is just play a couple of combinations of these pedals that I think sound particularly good together. If you're interested in any of the gear in this video, in the description you will find links to where you can buy it. They are affiliate links. If you do any shopping through those links, it supports my channel at no additional cost to you. What happens is you get your gear like normal, they get a sale, I get a little commission, but you get it for the same price. It works out for all of us. Let us know what you'd have on your board. I'm Jack Fossett. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.